What is transnational repression? Trans is across, nation, across nations, repression. A country which is trying to repress its own citizens who have already migrated to a different country. Think China, think Russia, think Iron Curtain, think communism, what have you. But now this is being used increasingly against India. Think Pannu, think Sikhs for Justice, and also see what happened in Pakistan, where unknown army, unknown men are taking care of people who did bad things against India. All these things, since they don't have a way of stopping it, now the people who want to keep India pegged down are trying to peddle this new phrase called transnational repression. And we're going to talk about who are the players. Some of the players will completely surprise you, because this is something that is now coming out after deeper research. Please like this video. This is going to be a comprehensive look at transnational repression, and I would really appreciate it if you watch it till the end. Here we go. Unpacking the weaponization of transnational repression. Weaponization is using something like a weapon to try and peg down a government or even change government. You saw what happened in Bangladesh. You will see what is happening in India, how they keep harping that the minorities are being discriminated, when in fact the government is essentially trying to have the law and order take its own course. Every time it goes against a small section, the section starts making up stories that they are being repressed, and lo and behold, there are these outlets which are ready to pick it up and amplify it. In fact, I was stunned to find out from somebody who's in the deep recesses of the country in the United States, where their only contact with the world is through what they hear on their emails that they get from their church. And interestingly, this person knew all about the lynching of one Muslim in Uttar Pradesh. I'm talking about maybe 2017-18. Sometime there was one such incident, which was actually more of a family versus family thing, but everybody seemed to know about it. I mean, it's one of those things that people don't expect to hear from somebody who's, lived in the countryside in United States. But I was stunned when I heard that. So this network is very, very pervasive. We don't know about it because we are all Hindus. We don't go to church. We're not part of these things. But there is definitely an anti-India, anti-Hindu sentiment that is prevalent in United States, perhaps in West. I mean, not just United States, but Canada and maybe Australia and England, and as well as in New Zealand. Whatever it is, this is something that is on one side, and nobody has done anything to try and dissuade them or show them the actual proof. That's what I'm really upset about. And the Indian government should be doing a lot more to promote itself as and project itself as a just and fair country. And it seems to not be able to do that. I don't know why. Anyway, this is just my 2 cents. So what one's noticing in the last 15 months is a big escalation of this TNR, that is translational repression, and they are continuing to downplay threats such as the Khalistanis. In fact, there was a second fire in Mahakumbh, and somebody who's associated, or at least who has a name that is similar to this, has claimed the credit for that incident. Luckily, nothing big happened. It was doused right away. There's airtight security there. So, but people are keeping on trying. In fact, we also know that the movie Emergency has been pulled off of all theaters in United Kingdom because all these Khalistani supporters went and disrupted the movie showing. This is just to inconvenience people who have come to watch the movie. They know that they are a dying cause, and this is the flame burning bright before it is snuffed out, in my opinion. So what is happening here? You can see the stories about Niger being made up, that he was a plumber in profession when he had, so many cases against him. Same with Pannu, same with everybody else. These are all extremist lumpens who are trying to peddle somebody's narrative because they just want to keep the pot boiling as far as India is concerned. When was this word coined? It was coined by Dana Moss in 2016. And it is defined by the FBI as foreign governments crossing borders to silence dissidents. Hello. Doesn't US do that? What about Osama bin Laden? What about that Suleiman? And however many people that we can think of? Doesn't the US do that too? So it's okay if US does it, but it's not okay if other countries do it. So think about this, folks. I mean, I want you to keep an open mind and think about it. How come there are two sets of standards here? That's just as far as US is concerned. Now, initially, this was focused, like I said, on China and Russia, but now it has also started going to India. The big four, as everybody sees, are what? US, China, Russia, and India. May not be in that order, US, China, India, and Russia. But you get the idea. What are the top 20 portals that spew invective, venom against India? The biggest one, this is something that you probably did not know. CBC News, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation News. British Broadcasting Corporation, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. ABC is Australian Broadcasting Commission. Just a small change in words. Guardian of United Kingdom. Then you have the usual stuff like Washington Post, New York Times, and so on and so forth. As a percentage, if you look at it, CBC is at the very top. You may want to watch this thing, pinch your fingers to make the figure so you can take a look at what is the percentage of each of these publications. If you look at the number of articles shared on X, that is Twitter, you can see Washington Post is far ahead of everybody else. It's like Washington Post runs a bot which looks for anything that's anti-India or anti-Hindu and then immediately retweets it. Somebody wants to get their article exposed, use some words, but don't, I mean, you use words that would look inimical to India or Modi, and then Washington Post will pick it up and retweet it. Try it out, folks. See if you can game that system too. RTs are 1983 as far as Washington Post is concerned. Then there is a big line there: CBC.ca, App News, The Guardian, Reuters, and so on and so forth. So the TNR narrative started taking momentum, especially as far as India is concerned, after the G20 summit in 2023, when they saw that India had very successfully conducted it. It also brought African Union into it, and this is G20 plus now. And people, they say, oh my goodness, these guys are doing everything right, and they are doing it with pomp and splendor, and the world was taking notice, especially that Bharat Mandapam is a beautifully built structure done especially to host this G20 meetings, summit, and things like that. And so this is where it really started in the next gear. But is this going to be continuing now that Canadian Prime Minister also is jittery? He might go, and Trump is already in place in United States. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not holding my breath. It's possible that they might continue doing this thing. And now look at this graph here. It tells you the number of tweets against India, and you can see it shoot up from 2023. Up until then, it was hardly anything, but after that, it has just gone through the roof. I thank Dsnfo Lab for putting together this preliminary information. We have also pulled in a lot of other information from various sites. All the links are provided to you in the description section. Feel free to read it to get a complete understanding of what is going on. Now, over 170 articles and reports amplifies the TNR narrative. Now, who are the big contributors? United States, 56.5%, Canada, 17.1%, UK, 12.9%, Australia, 5.3%. One could make the case that Australia is lesser in population than UK, and which is lesser in population than Canada, and so on and so forth. That's why it is proportional. Be that as it may, but this is all fake narratives, fake news. Why is this being peddled? And it's being peddled with impunity. People don't care. They don't think anybody is going to sue them. And the Indian government, if you ask me, should be suing them left, right, and center for all this misreporting. The US courts are very fair. If you have a case, you will win. You can put New York Times out of business if you think that they wrote an article that was blatantly biased and unfair. India just seems to just brush it off. I don't know whether it is the right thing to do or not. If you have the means, by all means, they should do it, in my opinion. Okay, who are these figures like Nijjar and Pannu? These are all Sikh activists. These are terrorists. They have a rap sheet. They are wanted for various things in India. And they are being made out as people who are activists. Come on now. So these are all people from Harvard, from Ivy Leagues, and fairly eminently intellectual. So what do they do getting up in the morning? They just completely set aside all their values and their sense of balance and start spewing this invective? Or are they so indoctrinated into this, so brainwashed, that they believe this to be the truth? I mean, you'll see hordes of people descending on Mahakumbh just to try and see if they can find anything wrong there and then play it up. Those stories haven't started coming yet, but I bet you those will come. We already saw some questionable stories. Now, the banned pro-Khalistani group, Sikhs for Justice, is one of these vocal advocates who is openly issuing threats against India, Indian Canadians, Hindus. I mean, this guy is a loudmouth and he's basically a criminal. Okay, I mean, his record as a lawyer in America is very interesting. You should take a look at some of the things that have happened when he was trying to get people green cards and so on and so forth. That's where he started. In my opinion, these are all two-bit thugs. We're not going to go very far. But if you look at the narrative that has been peddled on social media, you can see things like, whatever Khalistan puts out or whatever the TNR puts out, these are the ones that are taking traction. I'll tell you one thing that, like, for example, 4chan, even Telegram is pretty open about letting people do whatever they want. In fact, X has become open now. I see a lot of questionable content being displayed there. So you get the point now. And everybody is saying free speech, but there are people who are motivated and they use bots to try and amplify this message that somehow India is evil, Hindus are evil, Modi is evil. This list goes on. And there is no basis for all this. And people don't even seem to bother to find out if there is the other side, if there is another angle to this. Only now America has woken up and said, enough of this Democrats, these people are ruining the country and they have voted Republican. But this is a very tenuous lead that the Republicans are sitting on. They could lose it all in 2 years' time, especially in the Congress. So they need to really get a lot of things done now, but also not only do they have to get all these things done, they also need to make sure that the Democrats cannot break any of these things. For example, Trump has told California that voter ID has to be brought back, and one other condition he has imposed, that if you don't do this thing, water rights. If you don't do this thing, I'm not giving you any aid. So Gavin Newsom has a challenge on his hands, and I implore all the assemblymen and senators of the state of California, understand this is not right. Voter ID has to be there. It has to be mandatory. This was just rescinded a few years ago. I'm completely against it. People need to check who's voting. I mean, California became one of the most prosperous states in the country, perhaps the 7th largest economy in the world, maybe even the 6th, because it promoted meritocracy and it actually had a good law and order implementation in the state. And those are falling by the wayside right now. So anyway, this is my 2 cents. Now, you can look at the repost counts and high engagement articles shared on platform X. You see how the narrative building is very coordinated. Here you can see the retweet counts, and I'm trying to see the other one. It is view count of tweets. So once something comes, this ecosystem starts getting into the act and then starts playing it up. So if you don't get it the first time around, maybe the second time around, they'll come back and they'll hit you with it. So one way or the other, it lands on your timeline. Now X has 2 things. One is for you and the other one is following. Following is the tweets of the people that you yourself follow, but for you is an intelligence pattern matching engine which thinks that you might be interested in some of these tweets. So anyway, one way or the other, they are getting into this. I'm told that the Magnificent Seven has a lot of people who are confused about what their professional obligations are and what their ideology is, and often the ideology trumps the professional obligations. I think this is disastrous. They are going to start getting fired too. Mark my words. Just watch. Now, there is one place called Freedom House. We don't know much about it. Now, we're going to spend some time looking at this Freedom House because it is one of those nuclear elements that seems to be able to have its tentacles across many organizations and entities. This is funded by National Endowment for Democracy and Open Society Foundation. Who's Open Society Foundation? Soros, of course. And they portray itself as an independent, non-governmental watchdog. I mean, anything that is funded by Soros, I don't think so. Now, former President Michael Abramowitz's father, Morton Abramowitz, held significant US government roles. Who are the major donors to Freedom House? Well, $7 million by Open Society Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, Ford Foundation, Hewlett Foundation, Rockefeller Brothers. Some of these people don't even know the ideology, but they will do it because somebody else has done it. Then they'll say, okay, if that guy is there, then this must be doing something good. This is Michael Abramovich. Now he heads Voice of America. Just like BBC, Voice of America also will start sounding discordant about India. Now, this is 2024 when Michael Abramovich has moved to Voice of America, and you're going to see some stuff from there also in the near future, unless they have a change of heart and they dump this guy, or he himself has a change of heart and he starts putting out actual news, not fake news. Now, the FH has been shown that it has been biased, but they continue to peddle fake narrative. So these are the people who make up Freedom House. In this one, you should take a look at it in some detail, because some of these names are very revealing how they have permeated into various arms of the US government. So let's go back and look at what happened on December 6, 2023. The then president of Freedom House testified before US Senate Foreign Relations Committee using the Khalistani trope to accuse India of transnational repression. Now, one thing that I want everybody to think about, is it okay if US goes and assassinates Osama bin Laden in Pakistan? Isn't that also transnational repression? And if unknown army comes in, or unknown set of people come in and take care of people who have been part of one of the many incidents that Pakistan has conducted over India, is that also transnational repression? And some of these elements that are now baying for Khalistan, how clean are they? How many of them are ideological and how many of them are two-bit thugs? Has anybody done that research? For example, Pannu has a lot of cases against him under UAPA in India, and Niger did too. If you look at Niger, the way he went in and out, and how he was himself thrown out of the country a couple of times because they did not accept the wedding. I mean, he wed somebody and the next day he's out in the immigration office in Canada seeking a permanent residency. Niger was a very confident man, I can tell you. So what I'm saying is that these are the people who they are become the mouthpieces of a bigger narrative house, most likely run by the deep state with the help of George Soros. And they've been trying to throw some mud and keep throwing mud at India, try and see what sticks. This is the point, that they keep throwing, they don't stop. Then after that particular Freedom House incident, suddenly US senators criticize India on allegations of plot to kill separatist Sikh. And here is all the different press releases, written testimony by Michael Abramovich, who was at that time in Freedom House, and now he's chairing up or heading up Voice of America. I should check and see if he has been replaced once Trump is in power now. And here is the first one he put out, out of sight, not out of reach. This came in February 2021, highlighted Paramjit Singh Pamma, a known member of Khalistani terror outfits 𝗲𝗏𝗊𝗲 International and Khalistan Tiger Force. His case was already known and was resurrected in 2021 to fit the TNR narrative. And they start writing about how he is such a model citizen of the society, and how Punjab police is after him. Unfortunately for him, Punjab police has stuck to its guns, and they've shown how this guy had masterminded some assassinations and how they foiled it. And all this stuff, Freedom House tends to whitewash it. And then again, you see how many people start putting out articles, 6-7 articles in various publications. Suddenly somebody who's a terrorist at heart and in action, suddenly he becomes like a saint and a martyr. Now, Interpol was engaged by India to try and extradite Paramjit Singh Pamma, but this is facing resistance. Canada won't give them up. I mean, Canada hasn't given up some known convicted terrorists who were involved in the genocide of Hindus in 1971 in Bangladesh. They are also sitting in Canada. Some of them are also sitting in United Kingdom. I've talked about this in the past too. So this is not something that is just one country. It is just that they have a certain narrative and a certain bias, and if it fits that thing, they'll go hammer and tongs at them, and if it does not, then those people are all innocent. It doesn't matter that they have been found guilty in a court of law. And here are the documents of who leads it and who are the different entities. And there's more information going on. I'm not going to bore you with all that. Point I'm trying to make is, once you start drilling in a little bit, Freedom House again goes back to the same alphabet soup of organizations, the IIMCs, the IC, whatever, Indian Council of Muslims of North America, or ICNA or something like that, Islamic Society of North America. I mean, these are all just, they keep getting formed. Once they get blacklisted somewhere, they'll morph into a different name, but the same set of office bearers. This thing is rinse and repeat, goes on and on and on and on. So you have these new entities springing up. I don't think we have the capacity to keep up. There are so many coming up every other day. For example, they tried Hindus for Human Rights. That seems to have lost traction. Watch out, who's the next entity that they'll spring out. And then that entity will again start spewing venom against India. Thanks for watching PE Gurus. And if you have not already subscribed to our channel, please do so. Namaskar.